So this is the first block of our Cerulean Sky project. We've all seen a churn dash block like this before. For this quilt, it's going to be set on point. Remember, you can make yours with any color you want as long as it's monochromatic. You may have made a churn dash before, 1 or 10 or 100 or 110. This churn dash starts with 4.5 inch half square triangles. I make them so that you can cut them down to the exact size you need after you make them. If you need a refresher for how to make half square triangles, check out our tutorial in the links below. Because we need 16 total for this project, I'm going to use the Easy 8 method. With the Easy 8 method, I always make my squares larger than I need, just in case my seam allowance isn't perfect. What you do is you layer 2 squares of fabric. Now, I'm using 12-inch squares, but you could get away with as small as 10 inches. That's way too close for me. Put the light square on top, and then draw a line corner to corner. I'm using a very expensive marking tool here, my everyday standard number 2 pencil. Because it's on the inside of the block, it doesn't really matter. If you don't want to draw on your blocks, you can always just press these lines. Now let's head over to the sewing machine. Now we're at the iron. If I lay this flat, you'll see that it doesn't want to lay flat on its own, and that's okay. We're going to take our iron, and we're not going to iron back and forth. We're just going to press gently and set these seams, relaxing the fabric so that it lays nice and flat. This step is really important when we cut them. Once you've got it nice and flat, we can head over to the cutting table. Take your ruler and very carefully try to cut between the seams without moving your block. First you cut it corner to corner, and again, notice I'm not picking them up or touching them. I'm trying to keep the block very still. This is where that extra mat comes in handy. We're going to turn the mat so we end up like this. Down here, if we see, there's a little square, and I'm going to connect those 2 corners with my ruler, making it nice and square right in the middle. I'm going to cut those in half like that. Again, not touching my blocks. I'm going to turn it one more time. I'm going to cut right in the middle again. Making sure to keep everything nice and square. And that's the Easy 8 method. You'll have 8 half square triangles all made. Now we still have to open and trim them. Now these are much larger than I need. We need to get these down to 4.5 inches. So what I'll use my triangle trimmer tool. The triangle trimmer is my favorite. And what you do is you lay your triangle trimmer on the seam line that you need. And here it's 4.5 inches. That's what we need for this block. Cut. And then if we use these little guys here, that will trim away our dog ears for us. We're going to open them up, the dark side on top, and either finger press or use the rolling iron. This helps prevent any distortion. And again, being very careful here at the iron, we're going to press, making sure that we don't have any tucks, keeping it square. Once you've got it perfectly square, I use starch. I'm using the Laundress Stiffen Up starch, which is my new favorite. It's got a lovely smell to it. And you've got a perfect 4.5 inch half square triangle, all trimmed up and ready for our block. So now we're ready to make our little strip sets. And the way we do that is we cut 2 strips of our focus color, in my case blue, and I'm using a print. Remember, you can use a print as long as it's all in one color or the color and the background color. My color is ivory and blue, so this print works. You take your dark and your light strip. These are 2.5 inches by 20 inches. And again, we're going to stack them with the dark side on the top. And we want these to be exact. 2.5 inches by 20 inches. We're going to head over to the sewing machine. With the dark side on top, we're going to set our seam, and with the nose of the iron, we're going to gently press these to the dark side, trying not to distort them in any way. Once we've got them opened up, I lay them on my board. And I can see there was a little elbow in that white fabric. When I cut it, I didn't cut it quite straight. So with a little water, a little distilled water, I can fix that at this point, and I can just steam it into a straight line, and nobody will ever know that it wasn't cut perfectly. Give it a good shot of starch, make sure I don't have any tucks, and then we can cut this down. Now that we've got this ironed and starched, we're going to use a ruler. Now you could use your big ruler here, but I'm going to use this guy. We're going to use a line, the fold line, to make it square. We want to cut these 4.5 inches exactly. Now because we started with a 20-inch strip, you're going to have this little bit left over. And the reason I do that is because let's say these weren't exactly together like they were here, or we didn't get it completely perfectly straight. This gives me a little wiggle room to trim down to perfect. Again, I'd rather start with something larger than I need and be able to trim it down to size than to be stuck and have to unsew. The last thing we need is a center square of 4.5 inches background fabric. Then it's just a matter of putting our block together. 4 half square triangles in the corners pointing towards the center with 4 strip sets in the middles like this. Now that's the traditional way that it's done. Remember, you have to make all of the blocks, but you can use these units however you like. You get a totally different look. Or this way. And again, you can get a totally different look. There are lots of ways to play with this block and to play with value and placement, which is the whole point of this quilt. If you haven't already signed up for the Cerulean Sky project, make sure that you do so today so that you don't miss out on any of the upcoming blocks or giveaways. There's some prizes to be won too. Once you've made 4 churn dash blocks for the project, send them to me in the email below. I can't wait to see them.